Good morning, Professor Kaplan. We are happy to have you on our blog, Investire negli USA, a blog devoted to Italian companies wishing to invest in the U.S. Professor Kaplan, renowned professor of University of Chicago, expert in private equity, venture capital, corporate governance, corporate finance, and many more areas. So we're going to ask you a couple of questions today, and mostly related to the type of business and the type of activities Italian company do have in the U.S. Many of our clients and many of our friends are coming here in the U.S. with startup. And the question that they always ask is, how do we get the startup going and successfully here in the United States? Can you tell us something, some suggestions, some things not to do or things to do so that we can make their lives easier?
So for a startup, the most important thing for any startup is to get customers. So, if you were trying to come to the United States, whether you're, if you're operating in Italy, have customers. When you come to the United States, go after customers quickly. But what investors look for and what makes a business successful is customers. And, what I find with startups is, they're often bashful, or they don't go quickly enough to try to get customers. So the number one thing is to get customers. How do you get customers? The number one way you get customers is you solve a problem for them. So if you're a business-to-business kind of company, you want to solve a pain point for your customers. And business consumer is a little trickier. You want to provide something that makes customers happy. But it all comes down to customers. And if you are, whether you're in Italy, in Europe, in the United States, you get customers and life is good, and you don't have customers and you don't have a business.
That's great. And in terms of attracting investment, what do you think a startup should look like for a private equity company or a venture capital here in the U.S.? Of course, I mean a startup, an Italian startup.
Right. So again, it comes down to, if you're an Italian startup and you're looking to get funding here, the key thing again is have customers. So if you have customers in Italy and your business is doing well, and then you have a story as to how you're going to be able to take that, what you're doing in Italy, and do it in the United States, that's going to be attractive. And so again, it all comes down to customers, customers, customers. And when a venture capitalist is going to do due diligence on you, the first thing they're going to do, or one of the first things they're going to do, is go with you to a customer. If you're business to business, go on a customer call and see whether you are, what you're offering is attractive to customers. If it's business to consumer, they're going to look at your metrics. They're going to try to understand what your customer acquisition cost is, what lifetime value of a customer is, and whether you make money. So, but it all, at the end of the day, it all comes down to, will you get customers? And then if you're going to get customers, I guess the next thing is, how big can you get? And if it's a business where you get customers, but it's very small, then it's going to be less interesting than it's a business where if you get customers, you have the potential to get really big.
Wonderful. Last question for you, Professor. One of the difficult issues for European company is to get used to the hiring executives here in the United States. It's so different, the labor law and employee benefits and very different practices here in the U.S. Makes the hiring of CEO or executives here in the U.S. very different and much more complex to understand. Can you spare a couple of words on, the peculiarity of executive compensation here in the U.S. and what a European/Italian company should expect when hiring someone with this type of capabilities?
So now are we talking about larger companies and more mature companies?
But still privately held company, not public company.
So the difference here, I guess, would be, number one, in Italy, you have I think you have strict rules on firing people, and it's a little bit more regulated. In the U.S., it's actually, I think, a little bit easier in that you're less constrained on hiring, firing, and what contracts you write. I think the one difference might be maybe the pay levels are higher here. I just it's hard for me to answer because I don't know quite enough about Italy at the top executive level.
I was more thinking on the economics. What kind of economics an executive would expect to receive from to work for a European company? What the European company should expect to pay and provide in terms of executive package to an executive here in the U.S.?
I mean, it depends on the size of the company. I would say for venture-backed companies, it's not unusual to have the CEO have 5% of the company. And, for people running, C-level positions, 1 or 2% of the company. But that would be, I think it depends on the stage of the company. The further along it is, the less it is. And then the dollar amount, I think it varies by industry. It varies by geography, how much cash pay and how much stock options and equity you have to give.
Perfect. We're not going to steal any more of your time. Professor Kaplan, thank you so much for being part of our blog. I'm sure your words will be very helpful to many European, Italian companies that will listen to your interview. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You take care.
Thanks.